So last video from the Databank readings, we were at terms and we were at the first phenomenon of the list. We had read about Aiden last and we were going to start at the interstellar travel. As you can see, there's still quite a bit left. I will try and do all of them in this video still. So let's begin. Interstellar travel phenomenon. In the ancient times before Akivili the Trailblazer traversed the starry skies, people were already casting their eyes to the mighty cosmos above their heads. Armed with infinite curiosity towards the unknown, countless civilizations had started space exploration. However, their attempts had all failed. In the imaginary tree theory put forward by Xander van Kuwabara, first member of the Genius Society, the universe is filled with a mysterious imaginary energy. Imaginary energy isolates star clusters from each other and even light cannot pass through it. Therefore, human space exploration is often limited by the boundaries of their individual worlds, unable to advance any further. Xander also posed a hypothesis that humans would be able to control the universe if we can control and manipulate imaginary energy. It was a romantic illusion for a long time, until it was brought into reality by the appearance of the emanators of aeons. Cancer of all worlds phenomenon. Various factions have started to notice a phenomenon since a specific time. A vague, imperceptible matter was disrupting the flow of imaginary energy along the interstellar routes created by Trailblaze. Like a mountain climber meeting a cliff or a long-distance ship encountering tsunamis and whirlpools, interstellar travel changed from being unobstructed to being dangerous and unpredictable. This phenomenon is remarkably aggressive. It continues to encroach upon neighboring worlds in the form of a mysterious object, the Stellaron. It keeps spreading all over the universe like a cancerous growth, leading the Interstellar Peace Corporation to call it Cancer of All Worlds, and warning interstellar travelers not to take it lightly. The worlds swamped by the Cancer of All Worlds were soon beyond saving and very few people survived. There are many speculations regarding the Cancer of All Worlds, and most are related to Nanook the Destruction and the Antimatter Legion. These cosmic destroyers often seemed to appear together with Stellarons. We do not yet know if these occurrences are related or are only coincidences. Stellaron, the first object. It's under the Cancer of All Worlds. Stellarons are clearly the thing that appears when the Cancer of All Worlds comes to a world to help and destroy it. Fragmentum phenomenon. As the Cancer of All Worlds spreads along the worlds, the corrosive phenomenon of fragmentum is also quietly expanding. The Intelligentsia Guild believes there is a direct causative relationship between the two phenomena. They believe that the fragmentum is caused by the Stellaron and converts the entities and spaces it touches into special fragmentum creations. These creations usually exist as a type of spatial corrosion. They seem to preserve the memories and habits of the original physical entity, but manifest significantly different outward behaviors and are often very hostile towards other beings. The scholars researching fragmentum warn that we should consider any being corroded by fragmentum to be a completely unrelated existence to its original form. Harboring any kind of delusions towards it would cause grave consequences. Apart from corrosion, the fragmentum also records the ether information of the entities and spaces touched by the fragmentum. Such data is combined with the information inherent in the fragmentum and developed into a type of hybrid fragmentum creation. Countless relics, fragmentum monsters, and even mysteriously isolated paranormal spaces would spring up in every corner of the worlds corroded by the Cancer of All Worlds. We are still investigating the intent behind such activities. Emanator phenomenon. If mortals receiving the grace of aeons and grasping the power of paths are viewed as a singular shattered foam, then the mighty feats of aeons driving their paths onwards can be likened to a towering tsunami that engulfs mountains. In this empty stellar vastness, a small number of favored mortals can also draw upon the power of the paths with the permission of the aeons, creating huge waves that erode the coast. They are referred to as emanators. While not completely subservient to the aeons, emanators are as good as emissaries of the aeons, wills in everyone else's eyes. Different aeons have different attitudes toward their emanators, so the degree of the power they share also varies. Some aeons regard emanators as an extension of themselves and as such generously open their path to the emanators completely. There are also Aeons who have no intention of creating emanators and have no interest in worldly squabbles. Other Aeons just do as they please. It is said that Aha the Elation will randomly give mortals the power of their path and toy with humans according to their mood. Lord Ravager, a character. The Aeon of the Path of Destruction, Nanook, cast a glance at the powerful creatures sprouting destructive impulses throughout the cosmos and brands them with a mark, granting them powers. These powerful creatures are twisted from inside out and are recast anew in the world of the Warforge, their inadequacies patched up with antimatter. They ultimately became members of the Legion. Responding to the desire to destroy everything, Lord Ravagers emerged to command each of the different legions. A Lord Ravager is an emanator of the Aeon, an executor of the will of destruction. Obsessed with the beauty of destruction, they implement the practice of returning all things to entropy. They are also artists on the battlefield and ultimate weapons of destruction. They command interstellar warfare and control the might of destruction bestowed by the Aeon. Each Lord Ravager has a unique philosophy of destruction, making them extremely dangerous. Academics believe that Lord Ravagers were elevated as emissaries of Nanook due to this absolute obsessive and intense destructive aesthetic. The displacement and desolation caused by the Lord Ravagers are not some distant wail, but are closely linked to the fate of the cosmos. Any world could be the next victim, and nobody should take them lightly. Robert the Emperor, character. A computer dumped in a trash pile miraculously became self-aware, ultimately sparking a war that would engulf half the cosmos. The first of the mechanical emperor's wars, Rupert rose from the landfill while persistently improving its computational power. Its vast intellect eventually roused the attention of Nos, inviting it to join the Genius Society as the 27th member. Calculations performed by organic life are always riddled with errors, and no matter how much they may flourish, anti-life equations will inevitably and autonomously be generated. In contrast, Intellitron lifeforms are precise, rigorous, and perfect. Thus Rupert assembled an army of intelligent robots, crowning himself emperor and spreading the anti-life equation throughout the universe, plunging many civilizations into abject ruin. The Emperor had long since passed after countless Amber eras. Some say it was taken out by assassins from the IPC, while others maintain it was vanquished by the Lord of Silence, Polka Kakamant. After the two Emperors' wars, the IPC's fear of inorganic beings has failed to relent even to this very day. Pathstrider, phenomenon. Devotees, warriors, seekers of knowledge, lost travelers. There are always mortals who intentionally or otherwise set foot on the paths ruled by Aeons. Those who do so came to be known as Pathstriders that carry out the path's will. Pathstriders live thousands of different lives. They can be seen everywhere, yet stand out a cut above the rest. Different from regular people living in confusion and without a firm allegiance, Pathstriders are driven by precepts or their own desires as they embark on a life of determination and hard work. The Aeons usually ignore these mortals who walk upon their paths, but the infrequent glances they cast, be it in approval or pity, are enough to be highly treasured by their followers. Swarm disaster. Phenomenon. An unprecedented catastrophe befell the swarm-dominated Lepis-Mat system, and the final remains of the Coleoptera ascended to godhood, then turned into a nightmare that swept across the galaxy. In this ancient swarm disaster, all living things sought survival through prayer and struggle. The path of propagation has reached an unprecedented peak. Looking back at the ancient Amber Era, in the face of the overwhelming swarm, life obeyed the most primitive instincts: love, loneliness, the pain of survival, and the confusion of self. They exist in all beings and become nutrition for Taizeranth and their spawn. The beginning and end of the swarm disaster, as absurd as the life and death, Taizeranth the propagation ascended to godhood in loneliness and hatred, and finally fell into the hands of the Aeons. The swarm disaster dissipated, and all mortals perished. But the propagation spawn are endless, and so too is the disaster. Mortals will be born again, and the cycle will never end. Ruan Mei. Character. Ruan Mei, Genius Society number 81. Her achievements in the field of life sciences resonate throughout the universe. She is a low-profile person, and the IPC classifies her as a hermit genius. Few have seen her beautiful appearance. As a hermit who lives in seclusion, there are very few records of Ruanmei's appearance. There are only a few records of her appearance in Jiangzhou, and her past is equally mysterious. Other than her homeworld covered in ice and snow, her deceased parents, and a maternal grandmother who was never heard from again after joining the Intelligentsia Guild, everything is a mystery. It is as if she has abandoned all attachments to society. Ruanmei is also a very incongruous person. She's good at communicating with others but hates socializing. Her focused, indifferent, and bizarre personality is difficult to grasp, but at the same time she also has hobbies that are rather refined. Satin, music, cakes, embroidery, and tea. Everything must be of top quality, but only enjoyed alone. Stopping at this moment and peeking into the distant future, perhaps in her never-ending research, she herself has become as mysterious as the essence of life. What is the end goal of Ruanmei? Presumably only she knows. Polka Kakamond character. Genius Society number 4. Known as the Lord of Silence. Information on Polka Kakamond is as mysterious as her appearance. She has had her portraits and sculptures destroyed across the universe and is suspected of being involved in the deaths of many society members, including Genius Society number 27, Emperor Rupert. Herta is very interested in the Lord of Silence. Although there has been no news from Polka Kakamond for many years, Herta believes that she is still alive. She is elusive, and there is scarce information of her left in the universe. On the other hand, there are many rumors about her. Apparently, she was the only one to vote against Elias Salas, and probably having something to do with Nihility's Device 9, or X. If a woman removes her white coat and puts on a flashy candy-colored evening dress and appears in the cosmos with a dagger in hand, witnesses must call for help. The Lord of Silence is likely to target anyone. Harmonic strings phenomenon. When asking about the presence of a hierarchy within the family, one can expect a firm denial. The family treats everyone equally without division of class, with no established levels or power structures. Each note holds equal significance in the music Shippe has composed. However, for collective progress, someone must assume a leadership role. As a result, family members have returned to a system of differentiation based on scales, with only those above scale degree 4 being eligible to serve as the tuner of the harmonic strings. Harmony combines ideals from the multitudes and therefore has more than one way to achieve these ideals. The concept of harmonic strings is defined in the harmony hymns. They are the multiple embodiments of Shippe the Great One, the down-to-earth virtues that enable harmony. Regardless of whether you place yourself under the family's rule, the Aeon will look favorably upon you as long as you carry out these good deeds. On worlds ruled by the family, members often gather in larger groups to engage in virtuous acts and play harmonious music. The thousands of tiny ropes come together to form a united string, welcoming the embodiment of harmony to manifest on the mortal plane and give blessings. The chosen one responsible for conducting the family's ritual during that time and harmonizing the varied sounds is known as the tuner. The family never shied away from promoting the great names of the embodiment of a thousand-faced god, such as Ailenev, the commander of the Eternal Centurion, Dominicus, the wisher of the harmonious choir, Constantina, the singer of the Panacustus theater, and Beatrice, the merrymaker of the blissful ball. However, few have witnessed their radiant presence going beyond the boundaries of the family. Opposers of harmony argue that the harmonic strings are nothing short of the emanators of Shippe. Those do not follow any specific mortal but are facets of Shippe and can assume the form of any family member when necessary. Horizon of Existence phenomenon. The horizon of existence, often referred to as the border of nihility by the Intelligentsia Guild, marks the boundary between existence and nihility. This boundary does not pertain to the material realm but signifies the conceptual end of reality. Despite the intangible nature of the border, some scholars argue that individuals affected by X, the nihility, and their path can actually perceive the border of nihility, akin to witnessing a total eclipse of a star. Conversely, others suggest that when this border rises like the darkened sun and reflects in one's eyes, it heralds the emergence of a new self-annihilator. Despite this divergence, both sides agree on one aspect. The border of nihility solely affects its observers. In other words, once an individual has observed the border of nihility, they cannot stop this behavior and will irreversibly move towards the edge of the border, with no possibility of escape. Scholars intrigued by the nihility speculate that affected self-annihilators and affected worlds will plunge into the border itself, with their very existence eternally fixed to the other side of the unobservable border, ultimately eradicated from reality. There is a record stamp in this. Only self-annihilators can observe the border. None of those who were drawn by it have ever returned. These conclusions remain challenging to verify or falsify, potentially fabricated by history fictionologists. Scepter System Technology. With Noah's cognition process as its foundation, Rupert II cloned countless vast inorganic neuron clusters. From microparticle fluctuations to massive large-scale matter annihilation, the scepters were scattered across the Empire's segmenta, faithfully performing observational, computational, and interference commands. Under specific circumstances, these celestial-level computational interference devices could even temporarily disrupt physical laws within an area. Compared to Rupert I, the Second Emperor's cruelty only exceeded his predecessors despite his organic body. Indescribable gargantuan mechanical monoliths, self-iterating difference machines, cold merciless metal that executed the anti-organic equation with a pure intent of slaughter, replaced the once formidable Intellitron legions. Those inorganic life forms instigated by the equation were nothing more than expendable tools to him. Using the scepter system, he united the domain of his conquered lands all into his thoughts. From the flow of every signal to the action of every individual, the entire dynamics of an empire all came under the control of a single being's mind. The emperor was the empire's sole executor, judge, and thinker. Some opinions believe that the essence of the scepter system was the second emperor's way of overcoming organic limitations, an external cognition organ that converted the empire into his own brain. Perhaps influenced by such a desire for control, in the waning days of the Second Emperor's War, Rupert II finally decided to expand his own cognition with the scepter system to create a certain unknown knowledge singularity. Returning to the role of a seeker of knowledge, he prepared an experiment known as the self-coronation. Rupert II died before he could complete the self-coronation. Some opine that he abandoned the idea halfway through, and others say a scalpel stopped his cognition. The scepter systems were also completely disabled during the Scholar's strife, and to this day they quietly drift through the darkness, reduced to no more than some war ruins that travelers visit or piles of space trash awaiting cleanup. Knowledge Singularity Phenomenon. The moment ancient primates dwelling in the primal world discovered fire, they became geniuses among their tribes. The moment an emanator was birthed when humanity was reaching for the cosmos, they mastered the laws of interstellar travel, and thus the old era collapsed resoundingly. When the total sum of the universe's knowledge traverses a certain phase, it will result in explosive growth, causing a qualitative change in knowledge, thus changing the standard by which humanity evaluates geniuses. Genius Society number 22, Aiden, one of the people we read in the last video, proposed the hypothesis of the knowledge singularity. He described a special cognition critical threshold with a probability of near zero created by an absolute genius. In a time when scholars can only analyze phenomena, this genius can touch the essence of erudition. Just as Xandar built the astrocomputer, bringing the path of erudition from zero to none, knowledge embarked on this new path. Every manifestation of the knowledge singularity will lead to an expansion of the circle of knowledge on cosmic dimensions, in terms of the principles of methodology, tools, and cognition, constructing a whole new framework permanently redefining knowledge, even shaking Noah's thought process. Countless geniuses have pursued the knowledge singularity, and most of them have faded into the fog along the borders of the circle. Even so, some Genius Society members still view this as a lifelong pursuit, not for their own ambitions, but just because they are geniuses. Scholars strive, the last one of the terms in the Databank. Phenomenon. After Rupert II's deaths, with the IPC's supervision, the Emperor's legacy, the scepter system, was completely inherited by the Intelligentsia Guild. This legacy that far surpassed human intelligence fueled rumors among the schools. With the scepter's computational power, they could create a perfect scholar that swore allegiance to them, a genius belonging to the Intelligentsia Guild possessing unlimited life, inexhaustible knowledge repository, and endless research tools. To realize this goal, and for the interests of the various schools, the Scholars' Strife lifted its curtains. To contend for even more scepter allocation, the various schools, with the School of Interstellar Energy Resources at the head, attacked one another to get some shares of the legacy. What was once a purely scientific pursuit gradually devolved into some cloak and dagger competition, and with the intervention of the IPC and other external powers, a shadow of a proxy war was cast over the Scholars' Strife. The Guild's knowledge and ideals were no longer pure, leaving only ugly conflicts behind. The Intelligentsia Guild internal strife brought many opportunities for history fictionologists. In this current era, historical records related to the Scholars' Strife have been distorted beyond recognition. The only piece of truth that people can glean is that the scepters were completely disabled during the war. The legacy rotted under certain circumstances, and the war came to a close in a chaotic mess of unresolved conflicts. The farcical war left almost nothing of value behind. Only one lone seeker of knowledge left behind the solitary waves theory conundrum for future generations at the end of their relentless pursuit, the only treasure that bore fruit after the dust settled. That was the last of the terms. I did notice that the enemy creatures, if you for example click on one of them, have a little description to them. I am going to go over these. I'll see how many I can do it in a video. Might be one video depending on how long the descriptions are for some, since some of these are bosses, but seems like most of the descriptions are pretty small. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment on anything that you think might be interesting for me to read as well. Leave a like, it does help me as well. Have a nice evening and thank you for being here.